Hey guys, it is Sunday morning and it is time for your Horn of Z's, your sip of coffee. I got an email that the PayPal ICO was going on this morning, so I got up kind of early to get some. It's almost sold out here. It should be a good one. It's one of those longer term things though. A lot of the ICOs, ICO is an initial coin offering for a startup. It's a startup company, and the problem with this type of financing, as opposed to venture capital financing. Venture capital warrants and shares are kind of tough to sell before the company gets up and going. So they don't even sweat it for a couple of years until the company gets up and going. With the ICOs, the initial coin offerings, the coins are usually available to sell for the newbie investors who've never invested in a startup. So they're going to dump it, say, oh my God, I made 10%, I made 20%, I made 50% on this ICO. Venture capital guys see it as a risk reward thing. So, they're not looking for 10 or 20%. They're looking like for 500 or 1,000% type of return when the company gets up and going and the product comes to market. So that's the way I look at it. And those of you who were bummed that they didn't get Salt in the early days or Veritaseum in the early days, or you thought you missed out, well, now's a great time if you ask me. With Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the big cryptocurrencies doing very well. A lot of the tokens for the companies that had ICOs are down low because people were selling off to get their 50, 25, 35, 45% return right off the bat, and then they can run somewhere else to looking for instant gratification. So that obviously drives the price down, and before the product comes to market, there's nothing really exciting to do with these companies. So basically, the big money is starting to load up on the lows. And if you're bummed that you got in Salt at $10, well, now you can a dollar cost average. I think it's $3.50 or something right now, $3. And their product hasn't even been released. And most of the tokens from the Ethereum blockchain technology, the ERC20 tokens, are investments in companies that will have a product coming to market. Some are short term, some are longer term. PayPal is probably going to be a little longer term. Short term, you're looking at Veritaseum is going to start making announcements any day, hopefully. But I'm not concerned. I've done the analysis on the company, and I've done the business analysis, and it's good. It's a good company to own. And Salt is going to be an excellent company to own by the end of the year when their product comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I got all these crypto billions, but I can't do anything with them. I don't want to cash them out because I don't want to take the tax hit. Oh, I can get a Salt loan using my crypto as collateral." So that's real exciting stuff for Salt coming down the pike, and they have a lot more things in the irons as well. They were going to do a debit card and a lot of great stuff. So yeah, if you're bummed that you didn't get in, you got in at $10 and you didn't get in at $3, we're about at $3 right now. So go check that out, and you can buy it on etherDelta. etherDelta is a little tricky to use. I suggest play around with it a bit with very small sums of money until you get the hang of it, and then and once you get the hang of it, it's not that tough. It's tough to get large amounts. Not that I've ever been out there getting large amounts, but it's tough to get large amounts because it's such a thinly traded market. And Salt and Veritaseum are kind of the only ones, some of the only ones that haven't hit the big exchanges yet. I don't know why Salt hasn't yet. I think they're still in the, they want to stay under the radar due to the regulators and things like that. Veritaseum, it's clear that the exchanges see Veritaseum as a huge threat, because they can do what the exchanges do for a lot cheaper and not in the pool type situation. So we're watching for Reggie to announce the Jamaican Stock Exchange deal, and in that deal, on the Jamaican Stock Exchange, in the Veritaseum peer-to-peer exchange, you're going to be able to buy and sell Veritaseum, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. I think that's only 3 at the moment. but on a stock exchange. So it's really interesting, the amount of people that will then have access to the cryptos through a stock exchange. Um, I'm excited, and Veri's like the only smaller one that's not a cryptocurrency. It's literally it's a software platform that is going to be on there at the beginning, I believe. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's look at what these crazy prices are doing. Where we are in this mode, we're approaching the next crocodile tooth where Bitcoin goes up and everything else follows. And we've seen it many, many times. Bitcoin will go up, get really exciting, and then all the little guys start spiking, and then Bitcoin goes up to a certain amount and then gets slammed down. So it's going up, 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 slam, up, 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 slam. We're about to go up, up, up again. I think Cliff had it would begin near the end of now, but really increase when China comes out with their rulings about the cryptos at the end of the month, which is right after their election, or is it election or their meeting of the party. So really exciting times for the cryptos coming up. So I hope you're all in, you're ready to go. It does take patience. It does take waiting. As Tom Petty says, the waiting is the hardest part. That's when I go nasal with Tom Petty. But yeah, if you understand that fiat money is dying, and you're not going to care what the price is of these cryptocurrencies in fiat money, you're going to care how many Bitcoin you have, how many Litecoin you have, how many Veritaseum you have. That will be what you'll count as well going into 2018, 19, 20, and things like that. So a very exciting time for the cryptocurrencies because it's a truth machine, and blockchain technology, that's what it brings to the table. And what can we apply truth to in today's world of pure fraud and corruption? We can apply it to almost everything. I have a strong suspicion that almost everything will be tokenized, especially as all this news comes out about all the fraud and crimes that have been committed on people of the United States. There's lots of scuttlebutt in the background of Washington that this Las Vegas thing is going to be exposed for what it was. And it involves the head of MGM, the deep state, all kinds of people. Paddock was an arms dealer. His brother even almost had it slip out. It's so much bigger than what they're saying. But, we're going to wait till that comes out, because when that does come out, it calls everything into question. All the old false flags. And will we reopen the 9/11 investigation? Was it over 1,200 engineers have signed documents saying that they are beyond a shadow of a doubt that buildings can't fall, large skyscrapers can't fall at free fall speed. Not building one or two. I mean, the only excuse is, an airplane hit it. Well, airplanes hit buildings in the past, and they haven't fallen like that. But what about Building 7? And if anything can't be explained on 9/11, then a full investigation has never been done. And it was sad when the widows of 9/11 came to Congress. Bush Jr. wasn't even going to do any investigation. And then people yelling and screaming, it has to be investigated. So he put Chertoff in charge of it, which is, he's like a head henchman for the bad guys. And they only gave him $1 million to do an investigation into 9/11. Everybody's like, what are you talking about? And then the widows of 9/11 caused a stink, and good for them. Although they only got, $10 million total to do an investigation on 9/11, which has cost the world trillions and millions of lives. So, of course, there's a problem. Of course, if they got away with 9/11, why wouldn't they get away with the Vegas thing? The reason is there's a new sheriff in town, and Trump and the people who are behind Trump aren't going to let this go on. This would be, if Trump allows this to happen and allows the false flag to be considered in the mainstream as a closed case, then you can just kiss anything you hoped Trump would do away. Kiss it goodbye. Now is the time to stand up and say, hey, here are the real criminals in our lives. So keep an eye out for that. I think he will do it. I think there's enough information out there, and I've heard enough rumblings from behind the scenes that it's time. And I think even Trump said the other day, he said, this is the calm before the storm. And the storm is going to be exposing the criminals within the deep state of both the United States and of the world. I mean, this is a global thing, including the Mossad, including the Bank of England. I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge thing that the good guys are taking out these bad guys. And it is going to affect Congress. It is going to be a constitutional crisis for the United States of America. The U.S. dollar will probably be shuttered, not necessarily destroyed, but shuttered, as in, people will try to sell and there won't be any markets open to sell it at. So you're like, okay, what is the U.S. dollar? And the cryptos will absolutely be needed, and because we need the trust. The blockchain technology is a trustless system. I mean, you don't have to trust anybody. All you have to trust is math. If 2 + 2 = 4, you can trust the blockchain. And that's what's going to be injected into currencies. So those who say, oh, blockchain's great, but Bitcoin is a fraud, I'm sorry, the unbacked fiat system and the deep state that controls it is a fraud. And that's what we have to inject trust into the monetary system. So yes, Bitcoin will do very well. Ethereum will do very well. Litecoin will do very well. I don't know which one will win out of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Maybe they both will win. And if there's a new SegWit 2X or whatever, so be it. I like Litecoin better because it's faster and cheaper, and 7 billion people can use it right away. And that's that's just me though. Let's go down a couple of these that I like. Amizigo, I really like. I like it at $8. I liked it at like $2 or whatever it was a couple months ago. It's going to be huge in Asia, and they're already signing deals. They signed a deal with McDonald's of Thailand. That's how big it's going to be. It's going to be a monster. So yeah, and Cliff has it going up 30,000%. He didn't say from what number it started, but his data kicks out 30,000%. And it's rare that he gets numbers in his data. So when he does get, because he filters all that out, because there's numbers and everything, when he filters all that out and something pops out, he pays attention, and Amizigo was 30,000% gain. So yeah, I'm holding on to that one. And Cliff will say this stuff, and then you dig into the company and the token and find out what it's all about. And yeah, Amizigo is going to be a big one. What else do I like? Steam. Yeah, I like Steam, but I don't see how it could go crazy because it needs new money coming in. I like Steam because I'm a fairly well-known person, so when I post a video on the Steam network, I'll get some Steam tokens. If you're like a nobody out there and nobody's ever heard of you and you post a video up there, most people don't make any money on it, don't make any steam on it. So it's kind of a popularity contest, really. And I don't do that much with it. Once in a while I'll go on it, and I got nothing bad to say about it because it's a whole lot better than YouTube, but YouTube has the numbers. They have the amount of eyeballs on the thing. So I do think YouTube's going to flip at some point when the deep state is exposed and people within Google and YouTube are exposed. I think management of that company will be taken out and removed and replaced with someone who's going to look out for the free speech aspects of YouTube. So I haven't given up on YouTube right now. They're just part of the deep state. That's the problem. So keep an eye on that. EOS, who knows? I don't know about EOS. It was supposed to, the Jeff Berwick had claimed, and the inventor of EOS had claimed it was going to take over for Ethereum. Do I think that'll happen? I don't think so. I think Ethereum has a lot of upgrades coming up, so it's faster and easier. But I got a little bit of it. A couple EOS tokens. 10x really has been getting slammed. This is the the credit card that pays you because of jurisdictional issues. I think it's only used in Europe now. But as the world changes, that's the other thing. The world's going to change. and the world's going to turn to cryptos and away from governments. And I think 10x would probably benefit quite a bit from opening up the whole concept to the world and not just segmenting it into the European area. So yeah, I like that one. What else we got? There's Salt hovering around $3.38. Those of you bought in at 5, 7, 50, 10, 15, 20, you can dollar cost average pretty easily on Salt. And I think everything's going well. I think they got all the approvals they need. They're just waiting. They're still developing all these cryptos are developing their code. They're writing code. They're working on bugs. They're working on security. Security is a huge one for Salt, obviously, because it's dealing with so much money. And any of these tokens dealing with a lot of money are going to need great security. So yeah, take your time, do it right, type of thing. And they had announced a while back that they would be offering their first product before the end of the year, and I think they're still on track. So yeah, I'm a buyer of Salt, especially if it gets under $3. Then I'll buy it because I think that's where I got in, around $3. What else are we looking at that I like? There's some good ones in here. There's very good price at $60, which is cool. And Reggie, when Reggie starts announcing these partnerships and these the actual product becoming used, people will understand that Veritaseum could take the place of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. And that's how big that is, and that's pretty darn big. So in Cliff's data, he has Veritaseum going above the price of Bitcoin. So how big of a move is that? Do the math there. It was either the market cap or the price of Bitcoin, and I don't even know if Cliff can differentiate in his data which one was talking, but it did have Veritaseum eclipsing Bitcoin. But either way, it would be a huge jump, the biggest jump ever, probably in all the cryptos. That's why we're here, right? But I'm not in a hurry. Again, these are startups. We're investing in the Googles and the Facebooks and the Apple computers and the Cisco of the future in the blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. So, yeah, you wouldn't cry when you were in the basement of Steve Jobs or the garage of Steve Jobs inventing the first Apple IIc, and he gives you 25% of the shares of Apple Computer, and then they doubled the next day. Would you go out and sell them? I wouldn't. So that's what's happening. Fun fair if you like to gamble. Those tokens are a crack up. I think gambling will be big because I think a lot of the debt will go away, and there's going to be crypto billionaires and millionaires and zillionaires, as well as a lot of countries will start allocating cryptocurrencies to their citizenry instead of the unbacked fiat money as that system falls apart. So very interesting times. That's about it. Monaco's another credit card, crypto credit card. Monaco and the 10x Pay, I think, were the first two that came to market, and they should do well. When the flip happens, which I think Cliff High says is coming at least by the end of the year, some real exciting things, and by next year we'll move from 1% of the population knowing about the cryptos to 3% by the middle of next year. So that's just gigantic. And then especially if the old system is failing so badly, and that our government is failing so badly, and the faith is dropping away, everybody and their mother's going to try to get blockchain technology in their business, because that's all you'll be able to trust. Who can you trust when these people have abused us for so long? So very exciting. Ken Kick tokens right here. Who knows what's going to go on with that? That's social media for kids, and I think they love their social media, so that should do well. One of my favorites here, ADX, down 20%, but it was up a lot. It's very volatile. What I like about ADX is it can inject truth and honesty into the advertising world of online advertising, like YouTube and Google and stuff like that. that is huge because it's pure criminality right now, and people are starting to understand that, so they're not advertising on Google and YouTube because they lie about the amount of views, they lie about everything. So ADX, I think, is a great one to own as you build your portfolio. There's a lot of other ones. I mean, I'm sure many of you guys have a lot of these coins. Total market cap of the cryptos and the tokens is 150 billion. That is nothing compared to what it's going to be. When everything is required to have truth and honesty, we're talking 150 trillion or quadrillion dollars, because everything will need to be blockchained and tokenized, and we'll be dealing in cryptocurrencies by then. And it's not that far away, a year or two maybe, before the whole world says, oh my God, what have we done? And the old system dies and the new one is born out of the genius of Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he may be, or whoever they may be. I still have an inkling, and I still believe, and I probably will always believe, that Alan Greenspan was involved in that group. He was the world's first financial computer programmer. He invented the computer banking system that we have today, the electronic asset. He was the guy who screwed up the Y2K problem. His best friend is named John Kimeny, invented basic computing, and that's why Alan Greenspan was given so much power for all those years, is that he was running the computers in the background. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to roadtoruta.com. It explains the whole thing about, one interesting thing about Alan Greenspan and computers. He had a flunky, I forgot the guy's name. I didn't do much research on him because I only found him I hadn't found him until recently, but they call him the copy boy or something like that in the 60s because they didn't know what a computer was. But he ran all the hardware for Greenspan, and he was part of the collective, Ayn Rand's collective too. He is Rocky in the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston comic. But one interesting thing is, if you look at Apple Computer, they've had two spokesmen for Apple Computer. Steve Jobs, the inventor. Wozniak was never really a spokesman. But Alan Greenspan was a spokesman for Apple Computer, the Apple IIc in the 1980s. And if you go to YouTube and do a search for Alan Greenspan and Apple, you will find an old commercial of Alan Greenspan selling the Apple IIc and degrading the government, saying, hey, if you can balance your budget here, you're doing better than the government's doing. Really funny. But behind the scenes, yes, Alan Greenspan was a computer expert, computer programming expert in the 1960s. Yeah, think about that. How many years ahead of everybody else was he by the 70s, 80s, 90s? So yes, and his job was money and computer programming, and what's more important than that than the Bitcoin situation? Cryptocurrencies were invented and toyed around with in the 80s and 90s, and someone solved the problem in 2009. Someone named Satoshi Nakamoto, and it happened to be like 2 years after Greenspan got out of the head of the Fed. I think it was him. I still think it was him. He was involved. He knew about it, obviously, because he was the head of the Fed when all the early forms of digital cryptocurrencies were being invented, and they knew everything about it. And the Fed is knee-deep in that stuff. Right now, the Fed Boston, interestingly enough, the Fed Boston is in charge of cryptocurrencies for the Fed. And where did the Road to Ruta comics come from? The Fed Boston. Anyway, this is Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Make sure you go to the website, sign up for the free emails, and then you can check out all the other offerings we have. I'll talk to you later.